Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, the Indiana men's basketball season finally comes to a close. Here's all about how it went down.
And the riders for the Little 500 race towards their best qualification times yet. This is Hoosier Sports Night. Good evening and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Meredith Strewing.
And I'm Griffin Gonzalez. And Meredith, it's finally over. The men's season finally comes to a close on the basketball side of things.
Sadly, you're right. And what happened? I had hope.
You know, I think Wichita State was just a better team. It was just a better team. They came in ready to play, and it seemed that Hoosiers were a little step slow there, and it kind of hurt them at the end. And for that reason, Shockers are going to New York City.
I know. Even with home court advantage, I thought, you know, we could still get it. They could still get it.
Exactly. Well, let's go ahead and go into it. On Tuesday night, the Hoosiers capped off their season with a defeat in the quarterfinals of the Nite tournament. And freshman phenom Jared Rigdon ready to tell us all about it.
With a trip to Madison Square Garden on the line Tuesday night, IU reverted back to its old ways in a 73-63 loss to Wichita State. Both teams struggled in the first half. Poor shooting and careless turnovers hurt Indiana early. IU shot just 32% in the first half while turning the ball over 6 times. Still, IU only trailed by 7 at the break.
Well, disappointed, not able to win tonight. And again, in front of our crowd, great support all the way through, and you know, gave us an added advantage tonight and couldn't take advantage of it. And you got to give Wichita State a lot of credit. Excellent defensive team with great size. You know, our inability to get to the foul line and run good offense was a big difference. And then, you know, 11 made threes. You know, coming in the game, they weren't a great three-point shooting team, and they had some guys really step up, especially Dexter Dennis, making 5 of them.
Juan, Morgan, and Devontae Green carried IU in the second half. After a poor shooting half in the first, Devontae Green caught fire, hitting 2 threes for 12 points to finish the game.
I mean, I think we competed hard, and I thought we got the game right back to right there, 50-50. It could go either way there. They made the plays, we didn't, and they capitalized every single time. We were right there. We could not get over the hump, whether it was a foul at the end of the shot clock, a rebound on the weak side that leads to an and one. They just made some really tough, hard plays in a game like that when we didn't, you know, and that's the ability of a group like they have. You know, I mean, they're tough guys. They play hard. They've been playing really, really well here in the last 2 months, and I'll be honest, I won't be surprised if they don't win the Nite. I think that's the type of team they have right now. But they definitely did not allow us to get over the hump, and we couldn't get over the hump in a couple of those stretches where it was right there for the taking.
It was a close loss with a fitting ending to close off IU's season with a record of 19-16. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Jared Rigdon.
With 2 seasons in the books, Archie Miller's overall record as a head coach now stands at 35-31.
In order to race in the Little 500, an event that's attended each year by more than 25,000 fans, riders first need to qualify. And even though rider turnout was at its lowest in decades, our reporter Michael Tilka says that didn't stop teams from giving it their all.
Before they get to experience that one day in April, teams in the Little 500 race spent Saturday afternoon in qualification races to be one of the 33 teams competing in the men's and women's races on April 12th and 13th. Although things are different this year, as every team who completed a time trial would be guaranteed a spot in this year's Little 5, as only 33 men's teams and 32 women's teams registered for the race. Despite the low numbers, though, the quality of teams was still high, thanks in part to a near-perfect track, with temperatures in the mid-50s and a clear sky.
It's a nice warm day, couldn't ask for much more.
You know, last year with the 28 and snow, it feels good to be 50 and sunny. There are challenges on the different track conditions. Normally you would prefer a flatter, dustier track over a really soft one, but I mean, we had the whole gamut of what the track can look like today.
Between the thrills and spills here at Bill Armstrong Stadium, one thing stood out during qualifications, and that was dominance, as on the women's side, Ski Club won their pole by over 3.5 seconds, and the famous Cutters won their pole by over 7 seconds on the men's side.
And we deserve to be here, and we know it, and we're proud of it.
We're strong this year. We got a lot of confidence in ourselves and in our fitness and form. So throwing down a time like that, it shows that we are the team for sure.
I've never been this not nervous beforehand.
Just confident.
Yeah, just calm.
Even with the tense environment that the competition provides, the race means so much more than the final times that teams post.
It's a special group from the top down. I mean, guys who train with us, guys who are racing. It's really a good group, good mix of freshmen, juniors, and it's been a lot of fun.
It gets us really pumped. We're really excited. We can't wait for it.
For IUS TV Sports, I'm Michael Tilka.
Even though the big race isn't for another 2 weeks, riders will participate in 2 other Little 500 events beforehand, Missing Out and Team Pursuit, 2 riding competitions that test racers' endurance and speed. Come race day, IUS TV Sports will have live updates for you during the race, so make sure to follow our social media pages at IUS TV Sports.
Coming off a 9th place finish at the NCAA Championships, IU women's swim and dive look to set goals for the future, even if that future is missing several key teammates. Michael Dugan joins us in studio with women's swim and dive beat reporter Matt Cohen. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks, Griffin. I am joined by Matt Cohen to talk about the week that was for the IU women's swimming and diving team down in Austin, Texas. And Matt, thank you, A, for joining us, but B, for bringing us some of this great weather. You brought a little bit of the warmth with you.
Hey, it finally got to Bloomington, right?
Yeah, finally. It took us about 3 weeks longer than planned, but it's here now. So Lily King, she's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, she's a pretty good swimmer. She's all she's done is won an Olympic gold medal. She won 2. She holds a world record, not bad either. But in Austin, she became the winningest breaststroker in NCAA history with 8 NCAA titles. She won the 100 breaststroke title with a time of 55.73 seconds, which is an American record, which is crazy in the sense that in Bloomington at the Big Ten Championships about a month ago, she became the first woman to ever swim the 100 breaststroke in less than 56 seconds. Now she's done it twice in a month. I mean, it's the things that Lily King does just amaze you. She's one of the best just individual athletes I've ever gotten to watch in my life.
Now they got another Olympian on the team, Jessica Parado. How did she go out? Did she go out in style? Did she finish her IU career in style?
So maybe not as much in style as Lily King did. She finished 3rd in the platform dive. She wasn't in the finals for any of the other diving events. She had won her second dive. She missed the landing a little bit on that one. That hurt her in the overall standings. She had a chance to get second had she not missed that dive. A girl from Texas, I'm blanking on her name, unfortunately, but she won the national championship in the platform dive. No one was touching her. She was spectacular. I'd say Parado generally went out in style. Maybe not. It was her worst of her finishes at the NCAAs, which her worst finish being 3rd is pretty impressive. So I used to say generally in style, maybe not the best style, but I mean, she's one of the best divers in the history of this program. And while they may not miss her like they missed Lily King just because of the name that Lily King is, Parado's sorely going to be missed in this program as well.
There were a handful of performances, handful of good performances from Indiana down there. Get us up to speed. Who else performed well? Who made headlines?
So here's a name you're going to have to watch a lot going forward. Noelle Peplowski. She's a freshman. She swam in the 200 breaststroke championship final. She was the first freshman to do that since Lily King. So there's definitely some kind of sharing some footsteps. I don't want to say someone's following the footsteps of Lily King because that's really hard to do. But also there was senior Bailey Anderson. She's in her first year with Indiana after transferring from Denver. She was 6th in the 400 IM. She had her best overall NCAA championships of her career, being top 6 in both of her events, the 200 and the 400 IM.
Now, you kind of teased it there.
Yeah.
But Lily King left some pretty big shoes to fill, one might say, for this program going forward. Who can we look to fill those shoes?
So in one of my IDS stories, actually, I mentioned that you can't fill her shoes. No one else wears Crocs on the awards podium. And that's true, and I meant that, kind of in a joking way, but you can't fill Lily King's shoes. It's impossible. There's very few. I mean, she is literally the winningest breaststroker in the history of the NCAA. So finding someone that can fill that shoes, it's not going to happen right off the bat. You have Peplowski, who has been a really impressive freshman swimmer. She's been competing with King. I wouldn't say she's ever come close to beating King, but she's given her some fights throughout the year. They have a girl next year who will be a freshman next year. She's currently a senior at Yorktown High School named Emily Weiss. She owns a national record in the 100 breaststroke for high school. She swam faster than King ever did in high school. She's already actually swam in some national finals heats with King at the Phillips 666 U.S. Nationals last summer. So she's in that category, again, it's hard to say she's going to be king, but if there's anyone that's going to at all have the chance to get to that stature, I'd say probably Weiss, and Pawlowski's certainly in that mix as well.
Matt, thanks again for bringing some of that warm southern weather, and thanks again for joining us. Hopefully it stays. I'm not crossing my fingers, but hopefully it stays. Back to you guys at the desk.
With King and Parado both graduating, the Hoosiers will look to key freshmen like Maggie Wallace, Noelle Pawlowski, and Kristen Rockway to continue the women's swim and dive legacy.
After an 0-3 start in Big Ten play, the Indiana softball team took a midweek trip down to the Commonwealth for a game against the Louisville Cardinals. Indiana's offense struggled to convert with runners on, wasting bases loaded opportunities in the first and the sixth innings. Grayson Radcliffe's solo home run and Taylor Lambert's RBI triple were the Hoosiers' only runs support for that day. Indiana ace Tara Traynor surrendered 4 runs in 3 innings pitched, giving her the loss and dropping her record to 18-5 for the year. Now the Hoosiers return to Big Ten play this weekend as they play host to Michigan State for a 3-game set. First pitch of the series is slated for Friday at 6 p.m.
Well, on Wednesday night, the Hoosiers baseball squad hosted Kent State in what started off with a sprint turned into a marathon. Austin Matricardi has the recap.
The name of the game for Indiana on Wednesday was mistakes. Not one mistake, several. These mistakes piled on, one on top of the other, allowing Kent State to take the lead time and time again, forcing the Hoosiers to play catch-up throughout the night.
Yeah, we really didn't do anything well, literally anything. We had 16 free bases, we made 6 errors at my last count, and we had terrible approaches offensively. And we had poor base running. So you add that together, and it's really a minor miracle that we were even in the ball game into the 9th, 10th, 11th inning.
The Hoosiers succeeded in chasing down the Golden Flashes a couple of times with huge home runs from Matt Lloyd, Elijah Dunham, and Wyatt Cross bailing them out in the 8th and 11th innings. Despite those big hits from Lloyd and Dunham, Indiana eventually fell to Kent State 9-8 due to another mistake late in the game. A wild pitch in the top of the 12th put the Golden Flashes ahead, and Indiana just couldn't mount another comeback. Now the Hoosiers will have to refocus quickly as they'll take on the Maryland Terrapins this weekend.
We don't have a choice but to refocus and get back to work. And you know, you have games like this where you're exposed, and it's the same things we've talked about a ton. We have to. We don't have a choice but to make corrections and to be able to play fundamental baseball.
Mercer and the Hoosiers had better hope that those adjustments take hold quickly if they want to stay atop the Big Ten standings. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Austin Matricardi.
The series between Indiana and Maryland will start on Friday at 6:30 p.m.
And for like so many other people, 13 was a lucky number for the Indiana track and field teams as they picked up that number of wins at the Arizona State Invitational meet last weekend. Hoosier Shaitan Vaughn picked up his first win in the 400-meter hurdles, with Jalen Valentine coming in second place. Natalie Price sprinted her way to first place in the 200-meter race, and 3 Hoosiers were right behind her, and they all finished in the top 10. Bailey Hertenstein topped the podium of her first collegiate competition for the 1,500-meter race, and in the field, the Hoosiers grabbed 3 gold medals in the high jump and the long jump. Now, don't forget about Adam Coulon and Brock Mimoser, who both participated in the pole vault. Coulon walked away with 4th place, while Mimoser placed in the top 10. Indiana returns to action next weekend, March 28th through the 30th, when they travel to Gainesville, Florida for the annual Florida Relays.
Hey, when Hoosier Sport Night continues, we get a report from Juan Diego Alvarado and his travels with the IU men's soccer team to Mexico over spring break.
And 3 Hoosiers competed at the NCAA Wrestling Championships last week. We tell you their results and more when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night. Here at IUS TV Sports, we've been able to bring you stories from Hoosier athletics, but we've never had one quite like this. Our Juan Diego Alvarado traveled with the IU men's soccer team for their friendly matches in Mexico City, and he has the recap on the trip of a lifetime.
Indiana men's soccer had a very busy spring break trip down in Mexico City. The Hoosiers got 2 big wins as well as plenty of playing time in nice warm weather. The team and coaches also took time to visit some famous tourist locations in what is the 23rd largest city in the world. For its first friendly match, Indiana played the Cruz Azul under-20 team, and with remarkable performances by all the players in the team, IU got its 1-0 win after a great penalty execution by sophomore forward and IU's top goal scorer in the spring, Ian Black.
Played some pretty big minutes today against a really talented side, so a lot of positives. I mean, there's a lot we have to work on, and certainly, but pleased overall.
In IU's second matchup, the Hoosiers played the UNAM University team at Estadio Universitario. Black once again scored the only goal of the match, earning IU's second win of the tour in front of both IU and Pumas fans. In attendance was also IU President Michael McRobbie.
First of all, I just thank the university for this trip. And credit to UNAM. It's a great atmosphere. They brought out a lot of fans. Credit to their team, good team. It was just really special, especially playing out here in El Estadio Olímpico, just with all the history in the stadium. It's really awesome.
Back in Bloomington, Indiana will be returning to Bill Armstrong Stadium to play its only game at home versus Lipscomb on April 7th. Reporting for IUSTV Sports, Juan Diego Alvarado.
Thanks, Juan. Such a great experience. The Hoosiers have their final home game this spring, and that will be on April 7th when they face Lipscomb.
Well, for the first time since 2016, the Indiana women's basketball team made it to the NCAA tournament. That's right, the 10th-seeded Hoosiers, led by head coach Terry Morin, had a date set with the 7th-seed Longhorns from Texas in round 1, and thanks to some threes from courtesy of Jalen Penn, the Hoosiers would move on to round 2, where they'd meet the 2-seed, the Oregon Ducks. Hoosiers would put up a strong fight in the beginning, but the Duck was just a little too strong that day as the Hoosiers season comes to a close by a final score of 91-68. Now the Hoosiers only lose one starter after this season as Kim Royster will be leaving the program. However, the Hoosiers bring back a ton of talent as they try to improve on their chances in the tourney next year.
3 Hoosiers represented IU at the NCAA Wrestling Championships in Pittsburgh last Thursday and Friday. That's where seniors Elijah Oliver and Bryce Martin earned an automatic bid due to their performance in the Big Ten Championships, while sophomore Jake Kovach earned an at-large bid by the NCAA Wrestling Committee. On the first day, Martin and Kovach both lost by pin before losing their consolation match the next day. Elijah Oliver defeated his first opponent easily by an 11-4 decision, but fell in the next match. On day 2, Oliver would face the same fate as his teammates, losing his consolation match as well. IU finished 53rd overall as Penn State claimed their 4th straight national title. Oliver ends his wrestling career with 4 straight trips to the NCAA championships, and Bryce Martin ends his career with back-to-back championship appearances. While IU is losing 4 other seniors, head coach Angel Escobedo will be looking toward his incoming recruiting class to keep building on the program's recent success, and he'll try to bring IU their first national champion since Escobedo himself in 2008.
After falling to Minnesota 4-3 on Friday, the IU women's tennis team was looking to bounce back against Michigan State on Sunday. Indiana won the doubles point but fell victim to 4 straight single matches in Minneapolis. The doubles point and 2 single wins by Madison Appel and Jelly Bozovic were just not enough to beat the Gophers. When they returned to Bloomington to face off against Michigan State, the Spartans won the first singles point, but the Hoosiers struck back with 3 straight single wins. Madison Appel, Summer Henry, and Michelle McAmey clinched the match for the Hoosiers, and Natalie Whalen added 1 more point to give the Hoosiers a 5-2 victory. Nebraska and Iowa are up next for the Hoosiers as they hit the road and continue Big Ten play. Indiana will return to the IU Tennis Center on April 20th when the Rutgers Scarlet Knights come to town.
And staying with the same sport, but moving on to the men's tennis team, they'll be back in action for the first time in almost 3 weeks when they host Michigan State and Michigan this weekend in the IU Tennis Center. After a rough start to the month of February, Indiana has gotten hot. In their last 5 matches, the Hoosiers have picked up 4 wins. They've defeated 2 Big Ten opponents and earned 2 ranked victories as well. Most recently, IU lost to top 15 Illinois, but they'll have a chance to get back on track against the struggling Spartans and the top 25 Wolverines. Home court advantage will be key as the Hoosiers boast a 7-2 record while in Bloomington. Promotions for the weekend's matches include socks and t-shirt giveaways. We'll have live match updates for you via our social media at IUSTV.
Socks and t-shirts, that's not a bad gig.
Honestly.
That's like Christmas.
Let's
right?
go.
Let's go. Hey, that does it for our show today. Don't forget to like our page, IUSTV Sports, on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at IUSTV Sports. For Meredith Struing, I'm Griffin Gonzalez. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.